The Major League Baseball Wildcard playoffs are here, which means it is September 30th. It's almost October, which means we have about a month left in this crazy, wild MLB season where, believe it or not, the Toronto Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners are representing the number one and the number two seeds in the American League, and the Milwaukee Brewers and the Philadelphia Phillies are representing the number one and number two seeds in the National League. Coming into the year, I think obviously the National League side was more believable, but the fact that Seattle has won the AL West division over the Houston Astros, they're the only representative in the AL West. You have the Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Yankees out of the AL East representing the American League playoffs, and Toronto is the one with the home field advantage, where the Yankees and Red Sox have to play a three-game series in New York starting tonight. And then, of course, Cleveland, who made the biggest, most historic comeback in the history of baseball, down 15 and a half games in mid-July. The Tigers had everything rolling. Terrence Skubal was on a Cy Young track again. Jack Flaherty was their number two in their rotation. They were dominating a very weak AL Central. They collapsed down the stretch. The Guardians, who trade Shane Bieber away to the number one seed Toronto Blue Jays at the trade deadline, they cut Carlos Santana, and they just had this youth movement in Stephen Kwan, Jose Ramirez, Kyle Manzardo, CJ Cavis, George Valera, and these guys and Stephen Vogt just keep on fighting. They end up coming all the way back. The Guardians win the AL Central Division. Over in the National League, it's hard to believe that the Los Angeles Dodgers, who did not win the NL West. As a matter of fact, the San Diego Padres ended up winning the NL West, and the Dodgers now will take on the Cincinnati Reds. The San Diego Padres will take on the Chicago Cubs. The winner of Padres Cubs will play the Brewers. The winner of Dodgers Reds. Of course, the Reds, the 6th seed, Dodgers, the 3 seed after winning the NL West. Um, so we'll see there. You know, the Reds, best two out of three game series. You have Terry Francona, one of the best managers in baseball. Obviously, everybody thought the Dodgers, with their talents led by Shohei Ohtani, could potentially repeat. We could have had a dynasty, but baseball is obviously, not necessarily built that way. And I do think when you look at the across the landscape this year in baseball, I think we would all universally say the Brewers, the Mariners, and the Blue Jays have been the best three teams, though the National League has certainly had more wins. Um, they beat each other up. I do want to see a potential Dodgers Padres matchup in the NLCS. I do think that is the best rivalry now in baseball. I think it's overtaken Red Sox Yankees. As for these wild card matchups, I'll start with my Guardians. I am a little bit nervous about Aaron Skubal going up against the Guardians for the third time in 3 weeks. This is the third time that we will play the Detroit Tigers in the same amount of weeks. We had a 3 game series in Detroit. Cleveland swept. 3 game series in Cleveland. Cleveland took the first two. Detroit took the last one. So if the Guardians win these next two, they would go 7-1 over an 8 game stretch against the Tigers, easily proving their sorority. And then they would go to Seattle, who we have not seen since early in the season. And of course, Seattle's story, along with Julio Rodriguez, is Cal Riley with the over 50 home runs as a catcher, bringing back hitting at the catching position. Seattle has a really good rotation. It's really hard to play in that outfield down there in Seattle. They have a very good balanced lineup. They can hit for power. They can steal bases. Same thing with Toronto, who again, I think the one thing they were missing was their starting pitching. Shane Bieber comes back. He's given them a lot of good innings. I will say here, over the past month, the Boston Red Sox have been hotter than the New York Yankees, even though Aaron Judge has hit now another 50 home run campaign. To me, it does feel like, and especially without Garrett Cole pitching this year for the Yankees, they have been an Aaron Judge or bust offense. And so The Yankees in Toronto would be a very interesting series. They fought down to that final stretch. Toronto just got done going through Boston. Boston ended up winning a couple of those games, but the last game Toronto smashed. I think Toronto's better than Boston. I don't know how much better they are than the Yankees. I think we are looking at a Yankees Mariners or a Yankees Guardians ALCS, and I hope our buddy Sean Fitzgerald, who I add on Saturday, we did an emergency podcast where we talked MLB playoffs and Week 4 of the NFL. He said that the winner of this Guardians Tigers series, he believes will advance to the World Series. We'll see if that comes to fruition. I think that it's so good in baseball that we have so many of these different payrolls, right? The Guardians are 28th in offense, only behind the or only ahead of the Rockies and the Pirates. You have the Reds, I believe, with the 23rd something payroll or something like that. You have the Dodgers, obviously, with the number one payroll. Those two teams are going head to head. And as we always say in baseball, when it comes to the postseason, throw the numbers out the window, throw the payroll out the window. It's about a great bullpen. It's about great starting pitching, and it's about timely hitting. Cleveland has had a lot of it. Cincinnati has had a lot of it. And I will say the Phillies and Padres and Brewers as well on the National League side have had a ton of it. I think San Diego's better than the Cubs. I think they'll take that series. I'm rooting for the Reds. I want to see them take down the Dodgers. I think it'd be a fascinating story to talk about. The Dodgers with all this payroll, to talk about the dynasty. They have another year where they have multiple starting pitchers hurt throughout the year, and they don't even get a chance to repeat as World Series champions because they go out in the wild card round. So, in my opinion, um, I think that we're going to have Phillies taking on the Padres. And I think that we're going to, or excuse me, I think we're gonna have the Phillies take on the Reds, and I think we're gonna have the Brewers take on the Padres. My best guess here is we are going to have a Brewers Reds NL Central matchup in the NLCS. I think Milwaukee probably advances. And again, my hope here is that Cleveland and Detroit. Cleveland wins the series. They end up facing Seattle, and I would want nothing more than for my Guardians who have Gavin Williams, they have Tanner Bybee, Saccone has been really good in the rotation. Parker Messick, this young kid. And I don't know, man. It's just been a great vibe here in Cleveland over the last month. And the Yankees have eliminated the Guardians in the 2017, 2020, 2022, and 2024 postseasons. So the Guardians, 4 of the last 5 times they've been in the postseason, the franchise has been eliminated by the New York Yankees. We have pretty good success against Boston in the postseason, and we have a history in the postseason against Toronto and Seattle as well. So, if we beat the Tigers here, it's going to be an historic postseason potentially. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that any of these 12 teams in the MLB playoffs have a chance to win it this year. I think as we get through sort of the wild card in the NLDS and the ALDS, we'll have a better idea as we get to the championship series. But I've always said, baseball is not about the talent, right? The Dodgers, you can have the most talent in the world, you can have the most payroll in the world, health, pitching, bullpen, timely hitting. That's what it's about in the MLB postseason. And October has always been the NFL's month. The NBA starts back up again. But when the baseball playoffs are really good, close games with exciting plays, young stars making plays, October is always one to remember. Like that clip from the Brand's World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand's World podcast right here on YouTube.